There's a huge opportunity today for building material brands to drive greater education, for example, through certified installation programs that can really help to level up the next generation of professionals. And yet, there's lots of brands that are missing out on this opportunity. I recently attended a talk by Construct Connect that looked at the outlook and really forecast of the building and construction industry. And one really important nugget that I took away from this conversation was around the increase in labor costs. And that's no surprise. We know that labor cost is increasing in this space. But what was interesting is that while we're seeing that increase in labor costs, we're actually seeing a decrease in productivity with these organizations. And so what was being discussed is that a lot of these construction companies and these professional firms are bringing in new generations of talent, new trades professionals, and these professionals aren't as, capable and hands-on trained as they need them to be. And so they're often taking it upon themselves to implement education, to implement training, and to bring them up to speed to be productive and be a critical part of that workforce to do the work that they need to do every day. So of course, when you're dealing with an equation like this, where labor costs are up, productivity is down, as a building material brand, you think, we need to provide efficiency. That's the name of the game, is how can we help them be more efficient, right? How can our products help them be faster? How can we help them build smarter? How can we help them in this process? And so what I'm pointing at here, and I think you can probably follow the bouncing ball, is that, as building material brands, you have a big opportunity to become that education partner for construction companies, for your customers' firms, and for their businesses to help educate their teams and bring them along in the areas that they need to. Essentially, if these guys are setting up their own education programs and they're taking the time and investment and putting in the effort into making these programs a success and driving it home with their own workforce, let's lend them a hand. Let's be that indispensable partner that can take a load off their shoulders and educate their workforce so that they can get back to the high productivity numbers they're used to. So the approach here, and it's not new, but I can say it's definitely underutilized, is to implement education programs. And really, product first education programs, but looking even beyond that to how you can provide that well-rounded approach to help your customers with the challenges that they are obviously having today. So whether it's about talking to your installers, your boots on the ground, your professionals who are getting your products up on the buildings, or whether it's about your designers and architects and teaching how to properly implement those products, or even your specifiers, or even your sales team and how to effectively sell products through these customers. Lending a helping hand and being that kind of go-to resource means a lot when it comes to that long-term relationship and especially that loyalty. And of course, providing that partner education is really a win-win. Of course, you're providing that valuable education to help bring your customers' workforce along and kind of taking that off their shoulders and being that partner in the process, which is extremely appreciated by these customers. But at the same time, if you're teaching installation practices and you're working with those professionals, you're also teaching them the best ways to install your product, which is going to ensure the success of that building material. And of course, that's the best way to get your product installed. If you're teaching the tips and the tricks about proper installation, how to properly measure, how to properly spec, how to apply, how to erect, how to get all of these things going right when it comes to the application of your product, you're better ensuring the longevity, the performance, that everything that you promise from a product perspective is going to come through in the experience at the end of the day. So if you look around the industry, you're going to see a lot of examples of programs like this. Even retail partners like the Home Depot and Lowe's, and their kind of refreshed focus on the pros right now, they have a lot of training programs like this, where they're focusing on bringing up those new generations of professionals and even helping current professionals kind of level up their game. So then for building material brands, it's really about taking that idea and shaping it for what makes sense for your products or services. So it's around making programs that help to not only train how to install, how to apply, how to use your products, but taking that even further beyond and providing the necessary education that's going to help your customers take their work to the next level and again, increase that productivity. Now, when we talk about education, it's not just about beefing up your installation guides. I know that that's the easiest way to do it, but it's really about providing that education, that information, the tips, the tricks, the well-rounded perspective that other brands aren't. And oftentimes, the most common program you're going to see is certified installer programs, which, when done right, can be an extremely valuable tool for your brand. So if you're considering starting or maybe strengthening your education approach, and maybe through something like a certified installer program, there are some keys to success that I want to share and some kind of critical components that you're going to want to consider. So coming at this from a marketing lens, of course, I first want to talk about the importance of your program having an identity. Essentially, you want to build a story around your program. You want it to have a name. You want it to have a status. You want people to want to be part of it and to take the training and the education that you're providing. Again, we're talking about education that's beyond, sales guys popping by work sites and giving some quick tips and tricks. This is really structured programming that is all based on training and outputs and getting something from it that's really going to be valuable for your customers. So let's focus in on that status. What I'm talking about there is really providing that certification, that approval, that prestige that builders, that contractors, that installers are looking for in order to not only be confident in the skills that they have in applying your product and being able to kind of have those skills in the industry, but also to be able to promote that with their own customers. And so the next component is really around making sure that the programs that you're creating, the classes, the courses, whatever that looks like, goes beyond just your product. So what I mean by that is, how are you teaching beyond just putting your product on a building? Let's take insulation, for example. From measuring to knowing the qualities of good products to, talking to other trade professionals of how to effectively work around that space. All of those things are really important considerations when it comes to that full package of training that can help them do a better job not only in their day-to-day installation, but also in their career and really help you to become that valuable partner long term and create a little bit more of that loyalty that we're looking for with customers. So of course, next we need to address the difference between in-person and virtual types of training. Of course, when it comes down to it, when we're talking about, for example, teaching installation practices, being in person is extremely valuable. So figuring out the ways to implement your training program, whether it is visiting your customers' organizations or hosting them at your own factories or meeting them at job sites to do kind of that hands-on training, it is very valuable to figure out how your business can provide that asset. That being said, we live in a digital world, and we know that it's hard to pick up from one end of the country and fly to the other in a day. It can be done, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to work around. So how can you, on top of providing opportunities, how can you also build in valuable digital tools that can help to provide this training ongoing and on demand? And in that same vein, think about how you can create a masterclass in this. How can you create a digital experience to deliver this training that can help to, again, either continue or to augment that in-person experience? Because at the end of the day, the accessibility to your program is really going to be a key factor in success. And one element we absolutely can't forget is the perks. Everybody loves perks. And so when you're building these programs, you want to think about how you're also upping your game and kind of giving back to this community at the same time. These people who have invested and taken your educational programs, what are the perks or the benefits that they're getting from that as well? As certified installers, as an example, they might get discounts on certain products, or they might get exclusive access to certain products or updates that maybe other customers don't get. Thinking about that and including that in that kind of identity and status that we talked about is really important when carving out that program. So the last key component I want to touch on is really ongoing communication and evolution. You're going to want to grow with your customers and the needs that they have when it comes to their training. As we know, there's often changes in this industry, from trends to codes. Lots can happen in a day, a month, a year. And so keeping up with those trends and really providing updated education is really important. As your customers' businesses grow with them. So whether that means building in new modules, new training programs, maybe you're providing, new tools or tip sheets, or maybe you're the first to provide a perspective on an industry change. Being there for your customer to provide that education is what's going to be extremely valuable. So that was really looking at a fulsome education program such as a certified installer program and what that could look like and really keys to success. If that feels a little too lofty, which it can, it is possible, I can assure you, but there are other ways that you can really be that education partner to ensure that you're getting installed. So one area to consider is, of course, online education. What resources do you have available on your website? And I'm not talking about product information and sales information, but how are you helping to provide any resources right now that can help anyone looking for information about how to install and how to get familiar with using your product? Another way to get into this educational support is to partner. And so we see this as well a lot in the industry, where one product team might partner with another product team that's along the same vein to help provide more of a fulsome approach at how to tackle a certain type of project. And finally, another way to really help with this education support and kind of get your foot in the door is to work with organizations like associations and those that already have established accreditation. As we know, a lot of professionals in this industry need to keep up with their education and update their accreditations every year and keep you memorable in their career. And so as you think about growing your education, strengthening your programs, or even implementing new programs, I think one of the most important things is to kind of shift our lens on the value of these for the customer. A lot of building material brands, and rightfully so, approach something like a certified installer program by thinking about how can we get our products installed more? How can we get them installed properly? Which, of course, yes, is a major perk. But when you think about it differently and you actually put the customer's needs at the heart of this, especially as we talked about the evolving landscape and need of these organizations, it really changes the value that you can provide and opens up a world of opportunity to help take that onus off their shoulders and become that indispensable partner that you're looking to be. Thanks for listening today.